Hey,
Hi.
Akso, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's lovely to see you this morning. I'm glad I've got you on your first live
Yeah,
Instagram.
first Instagram live. I've done a lot of Zoom stuff,
Yes.
interviews, but this is a first for me. So yeah,
Well, I'm
pretty
honored.
exciting.
I'm honored to have you. I'm honored to have you. I can't wait to dive into the music. But before we do, maybe give our audience just a quick introduction to yourself and we can dive straight in.
Sure. My name's Dreezer. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been writing songs for a long time. Actually, been a solo artist since 2017. Just started work on my third album, and the first single has just been released, which is called Butterfly.
Amazing, amazing. I want to dive. Honestly, Butterfly has been in my head since I've heard it. Like I
Oh
can't,
wow!
in the best way. I can't not hear it. It's just such an amazing song.
That's
I
what it's
before
supposed to do. That's good
Exactly.
news.
It's great news. But before we get into the latest single, I kind of want to go a little bit back into learning a little bit about yourself. I've been kind of going through your YouTube channel and seeing a couple of interviews that you had previously, and
Ah,
two of the artists that you mentioned were George Michael and Justin Timberlake.
definitely,
Um,
definitely.
were they the biggest influence for you, or who kind of inspired you to start doing music?
Yeah, I mean, George Michael is why I'm talking to you today, pretty much.
Wow.
Um, right from the Wham days, even, I mean, I was a big fan back in those days, but I think the turning point was the song A Different Corner. When that came out, the, it inspired me to try and write a song, which is, I think, just around that time, late 80s, I think it was. But yeah, I thought, you know what, I'd love to try and get that kind of emotion across in music myself. So that's where the writing and everything started from. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say George Michael has been a big influence for you because you've kind of almost uh, hopefully you can emulate some of his career, but you have in a way in terms of, he had Wham and the stuff he did with them, and then
Yeah.
he kind of did his solo stuff.
Mm.
So it's kind of almost like a reflection of people that have inspired you, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
With your work with, I think it was Tara 2, the
Yes.
band that you worked with, how was that, and how does that compare to doing this all on your own? Because I'm sure that's quite a
Yeah.
daunting.
Well, basically, around that time of discovering, you know, George Michael and starting to write songs, me and my best friend Russell Aylett decided to form a duo, and he was very musical anyway. He was a really good. He was a really good producer and pianist. So we kind of yeah, really gelled really well. Started writing songs together, and yeah, we got a management deal. We toured the UK with some big acts at the time. We were support acts for some really big acts at the time. Um, and we thought we were gonna go on to big things, but like a lot of people, you kind of make a wrong step here or there, and suddenly that moment passes. And after that, we sort of dissolved the band and went our separate ways. He went more into production, and I actually sort of stopped doing music for quite a while and got married and focused on a different career and stuff like that. So that's where that era was great because we did genuinely have quite a big following, and it's really exciting. We had some
Mm.
really good live acts as well. We had some dancers with us and stuff like that. It was really a fun time. So
I can
that
imagine.
kind of kicked it all off. Yeah, and he was very much like Wham actually in terms of the performance and stuff like
Mm.
that.
Yeah, no, I think that's super interesting. I think it's never a misstep. I'm a strong believer of things happen for a reason, and
Yeah.
like you said, like it gave you so many different experiences. Working with
Mm.
somebody so closely is completely different to doing it on your own. And there's things that you've kind of explored maybe on stage and in the recording and writing process, which I think gears you up for doing something that you want to explore creatively. So
Definitely, yeah,
I think it
definitely.
sounds like it's been an amazing experience. I've always kind of had interviews where I've said the opposite. As a solo artist, I'm always like, oh, I wish I had a band. I wish I had people around me to kind of support me during those really kind of lonely
Yeah, yeah,
solo moments. Have you experienced a little bit of, I guess,
absolutely. Do you know what? I've experienced all of that, and I've kind of come full circle in a way,
mm,
because in the duo, it was fine actually. We were pretty much on the same page at the time musically where we wanted to be.
right,
But then I stepped away from music, and I actually came back to music because a guy I worked with at the time just said, "Oh, our lead singer's left our band," and I said, "Oh, I used to sing, back in the day." And he was like, "Really? Well, do you want to come to a rehearsal?" And I kind of, it took couple of months or so before I thought, yeah, you know what, I'll give it a try. Why not? And loved it. And I stayed in that band. It wasn't really my type of music, but I stayed in that band for a long time because of the camaraderie of a band. And like you're saying, experiencing, being able to bounce ideas off of people, but also experiencing the whole thing together. Going in as a unit and recording
mm,
was really fun because they'd never done it. I'd done it before and they hadn't. So it was almost like taking these guys to Disney World. It was, it was a really fun thing to do, to see their reaction in the studio and stuff like that. And the first 2 or 3 years of being in that band were great. We did a lot of live shows, and it was predominantly, a live band. And there were 7 of us at one point. But do you know what? It started to grind me down a little bit in terms of like the ego thing and everybody else having a different priority,
mm,
and actually not really making the new, because you have to kind of give other people a chance to shine and stuff like that.
mm,
You end up with music that isn't really you,
yeah,
and that's why I kind of, after being with that band for 5 years, it was like I thought, you know what, I'm gonna record a song on my own and see how that makes me feel. And it was
mm,
a revelation, because once I did that, it was obvious to me that this is what I should have done. Sometimes as well, it's about confidence in yourself.
right,
Confidence of, do I, can I do it on my own? Have I got that presence and that
mm,
that drive on my own. And once I did record one song, that was a massive turning point. From that period, I knew that for however long I keep doing music, this is
mm.
the way I want to do it.
That's I
Yeah,
think that's super. Yeah, it's a great experience to have because, if you had recorded your own music and thought, actually, I really enjoy being in a band, then you'd know that's for you. So I think having, so many different experiences, I think you learn to know what is good for you, which I think is super important. The advantage is, I mean, part of these interviews and discovering an artist's journey for me
yeah,
is I love creative people and I feel I can learn so much. There's such a um I can't even put it into words, but there's such a great like experience working with somebody else who's equally as
absolutely.
creative.
Yeah,
But there's also moments where you're like, actually, I do have a vision of what I want to go forward with. And I think it's amazing that you've done. You've got a long discography. So if anyone is watching, please do go check out Alan's music. It was amazing to listen to your albums as well. There's a lot to get through. Um, but that's amazing, amazing. One thing I wanted to touch on as well, you've been quite open and honest about your experience in your life. Part
mm,
of what's on your website, you kind of mentioned in 2011, it was quite a difficult personal experience in your life.
yeah, huge.
Um, how important is it for you to share that with your audience? Because we are now in a social media driven world where everything
Mm.
is sparkly and bright and everything is fun and nice.
Yeah,
How important is it for you to share your story that way?
yeah. I mean, I think this is the third project that I'm starting on now, and the first one was very reflective. It was about looking at my childhood, where I grew up, and that environment. And a lot of the songs were inspired from that. My father, who passed in 2014, things like that. So it was all about looking backwards. And then Healed, which was the second project, was very much about wearing my heart on my sleeve and talking about some personal stuff. And that was very cathartic. It was very. It definitely sort of like got rid of some of those demons that have been maybe like on my shoulder for such a long time. So that was very freeing. And what I've decided with it, not necessarily decided, but where I'm going with this project is stepping out of my comfort zone musically, but also just having a bit more fun. I think if you, like you say, if you listen to Butterfly, it's a track that makes you smile, and I think I'm going to explore a lot more of that in this project, and kind of move on from that period of reflection and catharsis. It's now this is about a little bit drawing from. I've never really written stuff from imagination. It's always been from personal experience, and by writing Butterfly, which is it's never happened. It's not a true story. Do you know what I mean? It's right. This is the first, and it was like, oh yeah, you can write songs like that as well. So for this project, it will be definitely from imagination, and also from stories other people tell you, or you've read, or whatever. That kind of inspiration this time, as opposed to, there is a couple of heart on my sleeve stuff as well, because I think that's always going to be who I am anyway. Right. But much more focused on having fun and doing some stuff that we've never done. I mean, the title of the album is already, I've already decided is going to be called Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. And everything we were doing with the approach to the video, even the aspect ratio of the video is different from any I've done before. The colours that we're using, everything in the video is what we've never done before, and everything in the music, the sounds that we're using. If we pull up a drum sound in the studio, have we used it before? Yes. Well, no, that's not the one then. Let's try and find something that's new. Right. And I think that's exciting, isn't it? Because you're exploring stuff you've never done before, and it's got the people that I work with excited as well, because they're like, oh, Alan wants to do this again, as opposed to that, So that's what is making both this song and the project itself, which is already written. It's just a question of getting in there and recording it, because as I'm sure you're aware, it's an expensive business.
Expensive and time consuming.
And
it's a lot to put in.
Yeah, I mean, to get something the way you want to present it does take an awful lot of time, an awful lot of demos and an awful lot of rewrites and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to be taking my time. Certainly, it'll probably be a year or so before the whole project is out there, but I'll be dropping singles over the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, actually. You've kind of done full length. Like, actually, to be honest, now there's hardly any albums that do 12 songs, 13 songs. I mean, as a listener, that's amazing, because you get so much from you, and there's a whole journey to kind of go through in an album. With the change in era of music, and I'm sure now looking back at your first album to today, it's quite different, right? How have you kind of approached music in this new era of music for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the first, talking about the first album which you mentioned, the influences as well were very much around the 80s. Your Tears for Fears and your Spandau Ballet and all that kind of thing. And now I'm being influenced. Healed was very much, the Justin Timberlake and the George Michael thing. But this album is exploring disco. It's exploring people like Dua Lipa and very Harry Styles is a big influence at the moment. I think his current album is fantastic.
Amazing.
So just love that guy. So yeah, so I'm kind of, I want to kind of get like I think everybody that listens to my music sort of says it's very retro. But I want to try and combine that with very current music as well. So that's the aim of this album, certainly.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. It's interesting you mentioned Harry Styles. I have another segment on my channel called the Music Roundup where we talk about the latest news, and Harry Styles' latest project was one of our points of conversation. It's so interesting because I think especially with his latest project, he's actually expanded his audience to people that you wouldn't expect to listen. I've never been a One Direction fan. It just wasn't my thing.
Not me really. No.
And then listening to his latest album, I was blown away. I was like,
Yeah,
actually, this is an amazing record.
absolutely.
And it wasn't just one single, two singles. It was like all the
No,
way through. This is
it's
a
a
solid
really
project.
good. Yeah, the whole project is great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So with your own project, are you kind of telling the story through your projects? Are there different points? I know you said you're drawing from different experiences, maybe people you know. Is there a common thread within this latest album?
Um, Only musically, as I say, musically it's definitely going to be more up tempo, more focus on disco and people like Harry Styles and whatever. But
Right.
I think the actual lyrical themes are quite diverse. So
Right.
I've got a song. So the next song is going to be about the next single is going to be about people's perception of you on social media. And it's called "Don't Get Me Wrong" because like a lot of people. I'm sitting here in Spain, yeah. We own a lovely property here, and you know sometimes I, you know, do a little tour and whatever, and people say, "Oh, you're living the life, Alan. You've got a great, you know, you know, you're a singer and you're doing this and that." But that's not necessary. That might be for 10 seconds of your day, but it isn't necessarily who you are.
Right.
And that's one of the things I wanted to explore is that I think a lot of people do that. You see this, like, you know, like you say, this shiny Instagram world that people say they live in, but that's very, very small part of who people really are.
Right.
And, you know, I'm sure you have, I've got things that I'm dealing with and have dealt with, and my partner's got an illness that's not terminal, but we have to live with that. And there's a lot of things that, you know, it's not all great. Do you know what I mean? It's everybody's got light and shade in their life, haven't they?
Right.
And so I thought, you know, that's a really good topic to explore. So that's the next single, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. I think, again, like you said, it's a very poignant topic. I think everyone has, I mean, I've had the same comments where somebody's like, oh, you're doing music, that sounds so fun. And don't get me wrong, it's one of the best experiences I've had in my life.
100%.
But you know what? There's life, there's bills, there's personal
Yeah.
experience, there's, you know, you go through the same highs and lows. And even to do with music, like performance for me actually is something I'm trying to work on this year, but it gives me anxiety. There's parts of it that, you know, you have to start creating a set list. There's expenses and rehearsals, and it's a lot more to it than just that 1 hour that you might see on Instagram, you know?
Absolutely,
So I'm excited to hear it, but let's talk about Butterfly. You know, it's been released a few weeks now, and the video as well is out, which is amazing. I know for you, the visuals are super important because every one of your visuals it's fantastic. For you, what inspired you to create that video project for Butterfly?
Yeah, I mean Elliot Richardson, who he's my co-writer solo. We've been working together now for 11 years, and we've grown together. And every time we do a video or approach a new project, is like, where can we take it a little bit further? And this time it was more about this song almost, and the video as well. I think is almost like a reintroduction of me as an artist, because I think it will appeal to a lot broader an audience than maybe some of my previous work. So it was almost like, let's just go back to it being about you and it being fun and colourful. And yeah, we were lucky enough to find a really great free venue. Thank you to the Bocking Arts Centre for letting us use it. And we got that space which had a great big mirror ball in the middle of the space. So kind of giving it that disco feel, and then we threw lots of different colours at it, and yeah, just you stand in front of the camera, and the first thing is, maybe I'm sure you feel the same sometimes, is that you freeze a little bit and you feel a little bit introverted and a little bit serious maybe, and what you see in the video is probably about 2 or 3 hours later, when it was like, oh, let's just have a bit of fun, and you know what I mean, and just just laughing, like just look like you're having a great time, and then you relax, and then suddenly I'm seeing that back, and I was like, that's it, that's what I wanted to get across in the, and I think it does look like I'm enjoying myself in it, and it feels, do you know what, the video feels the most me of any of them that I've done, I think.
That is a great achievement, because I, like you said, I think you can never get over that like anxiousness around like being on camera, releasing projects, and putting yourself out there. So to have a project,
and everybody behind the camera is just looking at you like, okay, we'll do it,
yeah,
and it's like,
exactly.
okay,
they're like, act natural, or
that's it,
like,
it's not easy, so. Yeah, but the good thing is, but having worked with Elliot for 11 years, we've got, like, when I think one of the early videos that I did, I didn't, you look back at yourself and you think, I'm kind of over singing that, and like a little bit too serious, and we're at a point now where we've done so much work together that I feel really comfortable with him. He's not worried about saying, Alan, that doesn't really look right. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas if you're in a room where you don't know those people, are people going to say, that's not quite right? So yeah, that being in that kind of safe environment really made a big difference to the visuals, I think. Yeah, sure.
No, it's a fantastic video, and I think it's a great single for the next chapter in your musical journey. Butterflies are symbols of evolution and change. So was that a conscious thing?
Do you know, it wasn't, but someone's pointed it out recently, and you have now, and it's like, do you know what? Like the emergence of a butterfly from what that was is almost like I said to you, it's like a reintroduction of me as an artist, and it's like, oh, this is a bit deeper than I thought, actually. So that's really cool.
It probably was a subconscious thing.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, I just want to congratulate you on your release of Butterfly. I think, I'm sure this is a start of a fantastic new journey for yourself. So if anyone is watching this back on YouTube, please do go check out Alan's music. I'll put all the links in the description. Check out his videos as well, and all his last project. I was going through Healed. It's a great album. I mean, both albums are great that you've released.
Thank you.
There's a couple of tracks on Healed. I was like, oh my God, this is, it got me. So I think it's a great record. But yeah, if you are watching back, please do go check out Alan's discography, and all his YouTube links will be in the description below. Alan, it's fantastic talking to you and connecting with you. I'm glad we've connected.
No, I really enjoyed it. And my people, go and check Akso out as well. He's a great guy, and I've watched some of your stuff, and it's really, really cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Glad we've collected, Alan, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, we'll do. All the best to you. Thanks again.
Take care.
Thanks, mate.
Bye. Bye.